Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. Today's video I wanted to show you guys my newest addition to the CGC 9.8 collection. And pretty special book. Excited about this one because I had it on my want list, which I did a video of sort of my CGC 9.8 want list for 2020 about a month ago now. So this book was on there. So it's always nice when you can kind of cross one off the want list. So yeah, this is a book I was sort of actively hunting. It's more on the affordable side too, which is nice, closer to $100 in the CGC 9.8. And so yeah, we'll get into kind of a full breakdown, and we'll just get into it really quick here. I got 3 reasons why I, really like this comic and really think it's a great comic and would recommend this comic, certainly if you like the superheroes and everything. Really quickly, I would invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8 and hit the bell. When you press subscribe, that bell pops up. Hit the bell, get all our latest notifications. Yeah, I'd love to have you on our comic book collecting, comic book investing team. And add me on Instagram too. I got all the links are in the description below for all that stuff. But newest addition to the collection. It was on my want list. A really nice looking Spawn Batman CGC 9.8. Probably my favorite crossover, I would say. One of my favorite crossovers for sure. Yeah, a couple things I think that make this crossover really special too. And I brought up my Batman The Dark Knight Returns CGC 9.8. Number one, a book I would recommend as well for, an 80s Batman investment grade book for sure. But obviously, this book kind of cover homages that one with the thunder in the background. And so Frank Miller doing some of the cover and the art on this, on Batman The Dark Knight Returns number 1. So one thing to kind of homage that cover, but another to actually get Frank Miller to do the story on this book. I think that's really cool. So, yeah, and, just right away, I already have one. So, this was a book I'd mentioned on my want list as just one that I noticed, I was still searching one for myself, searching for one, and, kind of realized that it was worthy to go on my want list because I was searching for another one, really wanted a double of this one. So look on the census here. There's 173 CGC 9.8s in the blue label. So 173 of them, that's not very much. It's, certainly not very much at all for like an early 90s. Or this is kind of mid-90s, almost 1994, but not a lot for a 90s book, 173 9.8s. Usually in Spawn books, too, there's just thousands and thousands. Certainly Spawn number 1, there's over 5,000 in the CGC 9.8. So not a lot out there for kind of, a mid to early 90s book. 49% is the CGC 9.8 ratio. So, talk about price for this one. I kind of mentioned on my want list video, since I already had one, I wanted to kind of possibly get a really good price for this one. And, I think I did okay. I don't think I got the best price, but a couple things about the listing kind of made me pull the trigger, I guess. Ended up paying $111 for this, the CGC 9.8 white pages version. And on the listing, he had mentioned that it was newly graded in a new case, in a kind of a mint new case. So, to be honest, you can and I've seen this book go for, I think it was like $88, $89 in an auction. So you can maybe get this book for like $90. But for me, I think it was just worth it to pay that extra $20, let's say, to have that extra certainty. Especially him saying that it was a newly graded example. And yeah, it's a really nice one. There's a little bit of kind of inner well scuffing on the back. But, yeah, it's pretty important to have a really nice mint new case with this book because of the kind of simple black background that shows any imperfections pretty, shows them pretty easily. But, so I mentioned, $111 is what I paid. If you're in the States, maybe you'd be really patient for an auction, you get this closer to $90, but I think if it's looking really good in the pictures and it's flawless, I think $110 is a decent price. So yeah, for me, shipping to Canada was okay too. So I just ended up pulling the trigger and not really thinking about am I saving $10 or $20 or something like that. Just certainly a book that I wanted, and yeah, really happy that too now. All right, so 3 reasons why I really wanted another copy of Spawn Batman and why I would recommend Spawn Batman as a really good sort of entry-level, affordable investment-grade book, whatever you want to call it, kind of an affordable one, being it closer to $100. So first one is the Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. Obviously a classic Batman book. It's one of the top 10 graphic novels of all time. A lot of people talk about it as sort of the first modern Batman, even. So this homage covers that, obviously. Todd McFarlane's kind of on the record as saying Frank Miller and Batman: The Dark Knight Returns really influenced how, he did his storytelling, certainly in Spawn and just throughout his career, and it influenced in his art too. Because, this almost is known as ushering in the modern age of comic books, sort of the Copper Age to modern age, was Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, because they used a lot of innovative storytelling and art techniques in that book that hadn't really been used much. So to have this book sort of cover homage that one, and to have Frank Miller do the story is just a super cool bonus, and to know that backstory that McFarlane was influenced by Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, I just think is cool too. So that's kind of my first reason is, homage of the Batman: The Dark Knight Returns is really cool, but to have Frank Miller on the book as well is just way cooler. Because not a lot of homages have the artist involved in the homage kind of thing. So second reason here is two of my favorite superheroes in one comic book. There's another Batman Spawn team up book. I think it's called War Child or something like that. I completely recommend this one over that one. I personally wouldn't really look at that one unless for some reason maybe it's nostalgic to you or something like that, but this is the one to get over that one for sure, being that Frank Miller, Todd McFarlane team up. So yeah, Batman and Spawn are two of my favorite superheroes. Spider-Man's probably my in there in my top 3 superheroes. So whenever you can get kind of your 2 favorite superheroes in one comic and such great artists, 2 of my favorite artists too. So that's the second reason. And the last reason, for a 90s book, as I kind of touched on, for a mid-90s book, early to mid-90s book that's coming out in 1994, there's not very many 9.8s on the census. 173 is not too bad. Usually in 90s books, it just always seems to be over 1,000, certainly anything before 1994 usually. So yeah, you're kind of right on the edge here in 94, where printing maybe started to slow down a tad. But, whereas from 1990 to 1993, all those books are just, usually there's thousands almost on the CGC census for most books. But not very many of this book in the CGC 9.8 for kind of its era. So yeah, it's because, to make a comparison, a price comparison, you can get a Spawn #1, which there's over 5,000 CGC 9.8s for about $100 now. They're about bang on $100 in the CGC 9.8, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. So it's about the same price for that book for this book, but 5,000 some of those, 173 of these, and that's kind of why I would, recommend this book. And, I like Spawn #1. I like it in the newsstand better, which is a lot more rare and a little bit more expensive. That's the Spawn #1 I'd recommend. But as a sort of secondary, affordable Spawn book, if you were in the market for something, this is up there on my recommendations rather than, looking in the back issues of Spawn. And, this is just so up there because, again, with having Frank Miller on the story, plus the cover homage, 2 classic artists, 2 of the most important modern day artists in one book, and 2 of the coolest superheroes too. And Batman and Spawn, they're kind of similar. They go together really good. And yeah, certainly again, this is the one to get over that Spawn War Child one too. So yeah, I guess talking about the price again, I paid $111. I'd probably be really patient, get it under 100 in an auction would be a really good deal. But again, for me, it was newly graded, nice new case. Why not spend that extra $20? And it had good shipping to Canada to get to me too. So thought I would just jump on it. And yeah, really glad I got 2 of them now. And I know this is a really good candidate of a book to get signature series, one of these too. So, getting Frank Miller, Todd McFarlane, both of their signatures on this book, I think usually puts it up to $600 to $700, I think. Yeah, it gets really expensive with their signatures on it. But, I always like the kind of the crisp blue label as it was in its original state on the first day it came out is kind of my feeling of sticking mostly with blue label books pretty much. And yeah, you can get the same book for like me, $111. I got this book, and my first one, I think it was around the same price too. And I was really on the first one kind of looking for the same in the book, where I wanted the case to be really nice. I didn't want there to be like any obvious scuffs on the case because of the simple black cover. So that's a thing to watch out for this book in the CGC 9.8. You know, even one on an auction that you might be able to get cheap could have some scuffs and stuff like that. So watch out for that, because yeah, it just kind of gets annoying on a simple cover like this. And even my Batman the Dark Knight Returns, this book for me, it has a lot of inner well scuffing, which really annoys me. But you know, such a classic book. It's not on the book. It's on the well of the CGC comic. The inner well scuffs is one of the things that can happen with graded comics. But I mean, the book is flawless, so but a bit of a bummer when you get those kind of imperfections from the CGC case on such a simple cover like these. So watch out for that. But yeah, Spawn Batman, two of my favorite superheroes, probably my favorite crossover, certainly my favorite crossover of the 90s, I think. And yeah, a book I would recommend. Only 173 CGC 9.8s. Like, that's not bad, and especially for a 90s book. So yeah, certainly if you're a Spawn and a Batman fan, because this is one that could get overlooked. It's somewhat overlooked at times. So even if you are a big Spawn and Batman fan, you might not even have really come across this book. Possibly, that's super possible. So yeah, one I would recommend though. All right, thanks for watching today. I'd invite you, if you haven't already, to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8. And yeah, I'd love to have you on our comic book collecting team. Add me on Instagram too. I got all the links in the description below. But yeah, thanks for watching today. Glad I can show you my newest edition of the collection. I got a couple other packages in too, so I think tomorrow's going to be an unbox too with some new books, new CGC 9.8 books that, yeah, I'm really excited about some of the newest additions to the collection. So yeah, I can't wait for that. But thanks so much for watching today. I'll see you on the next one.